Hello, hello, and welcome to Seafoam Stadium in St. Paul, Minnesota for the Minnesota Strike's second home game of the season against the visiting Indianapolis Red. We have an exciting interdivisional matchup here today. Welcome to the stream. We're so excited that you're here joining us. The Minnesota Strike are playing their fourth game of the season with the Indianapolis Red on game number 3. My name is Rebecca Klein, and I am here with Kelsey Percy. Excited to be with you virtually on Zoom. Kelsey, how are we feeling today?
Really excited. This is going to be such an interesting game, and this is a game with real stakes for both of these teams. We are at the point of the season where teams are really going to have to make every point count. Point differential comes into play, and the winner of this game to a certain extent controls their future going in. Neither of these teams are near the top of the standings, but they are fighting to be the best of the rest. And Strike in particular, as we were speaking with the coaches just a moment ago, believes that they have a shot at making it to championship weekend.
Yeah, and we can spend some time talking a little bit about the sort of state of the division here with Indy and Minnesota. We see Philly surging to the top of the rankings with a 3-0 record.
Dominating at the top of the standings.
Yes.
Look at that point differential.
Yeah. And they are playing another interdivisional game this weekend against Milwaukee Monarchs, so this divisional ranking might look a little different tomorrow. But we see Minnesota and Indy down there at the bottom. Teams have had somewhat disappointing starts to the season, I might say, but more so for Indy than for Minnesota. Indy started off with their first game against the Monarchs, a game that I think most of us expected they would win handily, and took a loss. They then went to play Philly again, who is dominating the standings, and took a loss there as well. So they're coming into this game really ready to give it all they have and kind of show us that they are still a team to be reckoned with. Minnesota went on a 2-game away trip to both Philly Surge and New York Gridlock, again, the top 2 teams in the division, which is a tough back-to-back for them, isn't it?
Yeah, and something I want to highlight there. So both Strike and Indy played against Philly, both lost to Indy. However, Strike lost by fewer. They lost by 2, Indy lost by 6. So there's a point differential split there that favors the Strike. Strike is very aware of that. Again, looking not just to win this game, but to get that point differential. Indy has a very talented team that their standings right now do not accurately reflect, and they want to play at their level. They don't want to allow Strike and the wind in Seafoam Stadium to dictate their play.
Yes, worth noting that it is a little bit breezy here in St. Paul today, so look for that to potentially affect play, though hopefully not too much. We'll talk more about that in a second, but want to talk a little bit about our sponsors first. The first one will be Discraft, which Discraft Ultrastar is the official disc of the Premier Ultimate League. Discraft, the world leader in disc sports.
Next, Breakmark Ultimate Apparel is the exclusive official uniform sponsor of the Minnesota Strike and the entire Premier Ultimate League. Get your Strike and Indy Red jerseys, hats, and more at teams.breakmark.com/group/PUL. And then lastly, if you plan to enjoy today's broadcast, please consider donating by scanning the QR code on your screen or at strikeultimate.com. Minnesota Strike is a nonprofit organization, and all donations go toward player pay, travel costs, and bringing you high-quality live streams like this one today. Thank you for supporting the Strike. Player pay, that is a tongue twister that gets me every single time. No, but big shout out to those who are listening in from home. We appreciate you. We're glad you are joining us today. And again, to set the stage for this game, look at those flags. Look how horizontal they are. The wind is just cracking through this field. There are going to be big gusts. It will change a little bit over the course of the game. But both teams, I think their success is going to be defined by how they handle the conditions of this game. And both teams, we heard talking about the edge on their throws and how they think their defenses in particular are going to be able to execute in it. And we were wondering how the first point would
start off, aka essentially who wins the pull-in gets to start going downwind, because in games like this, sometimes that can make all the difference. It does look like, well, unclear who won the pull, but it does, in any case, look like Indy is starting on offense going downwind. So that is something to keep in mind.
Again, going to the feedback that we got from coaches prior to the game, the Minnesota coaches were very happy with how their defense was executing going upwind, going into the wind. But this is a potently talented Indy Red offense. Look at the quality of their handler trios, because when you're looking at Tracy Lowe, when you're looking at Laura Gerenser, when you're looking at Ji Huang, these are top-notch players who have excellent chemistry, who are going to absorb a lot of those touches, but also then risk some of the turns. How are these two going to face off?
We're seeing Indy star Rachel Mast on the screen right now, a player that lots of folks who are familiar with Ultimate are familiar with. She's a total all-star. She's played on worlds level teams and hasn't been producing necessarily quite to the extent you might expect in their first couple games. She's played 2 games. She's had, I believe, 2 assists, 2 goals and 1 assist. So really looking to see if she can come into her own and return to the level that we will expect to see from her as one of the top players in the league.
Now, while we're talking Indy Red, another player to watch more on the defensive side of things is going to be Eileen Beckett. But we'll shout that out when they switch more to that D-line. Couple players back for Minneapolis, now that we're seeing them on the screen. Kind of bottom right of your scene, Jane Cook was out running, I believe, a half marathon last home game.
Naturally.
But is here, and Strike is excited to have her back on the field. Nice 1-2 punch to the defensive capabilities of Sarah Monshine.
All right, and here we go. Tracy Lowe picking it up right on the 50-yard line. Immediately hucks downfield to Mast. Oh, Mast just lost it in the wind, sort of turned over the wrong shoulder, wasn't able to hold on to it.
And you see that lefty release, how quickly and confidently Tracy Lowe was releasing. It had nice rotation, but where in ordinary circumstances that just would have coasted into Mast's hands, instead sails out. Quick end zone line defense, though.
Looks like Matamore maybe got a hand on it, and Monshine is calling a foul, so the discussion will ensue. This going upwind is gonna be pretty difficult no matter which team is doing it. It looks like maybe it was a foul contest going back to Claire Lee, the thrower.
Now, Claire Lee is definitely the person that Strike wants picking up the disc here, has some real power, and wouldn't be surprised if stall count rises just to see her release to get them out of that end zone and play field position.
Lee and Wright playing catch here in a really small space in their own end zone. Back to Monshine. Staying calm here is really the name of the game, sort of getting to know the wind a little bit better as we are in the first point of the game. Cook right in the coffin corner now. Back to Wright. Wright slices through up to Ellie Fireside Ostergaard, who throws it right over defender's head, over to Serenity,
who did a really good job reading the disc as it popped up.
Right with another slicing throw through the middle to Monshine. Monshine back to Serenity.
Pay attention to how much the disc is popping up into the air on this lower field side. So many good throws, but then just a one shot immediately into the end zone. That's a score, and that is an area where I think Strike will want to move faster, but what a fantastic counterpunch by Indy. They turned the disc, but then they're able to score so quickly it really feels like they kept the energy of that hold.
Yeah, absolutely. That is Sydney Loughran catching the goal. I missed who threw the assist, but we will see the replay in just a moment here. Strike hopefully can feel good about the movement that they did have on the possession there.
So we just saw the wind really pushing that disc past. Here you're seeing the contact between Matamore and Monshine. That happened so fast. I think Matamore coming through the body of Monshine there, but really reaching around to get her hand on that disc. And we're just seeing a little bit too fast misconnection between Serenity and Monshine. And here's the scoring throw into the end zone. Red should celebrate. That was a necessary hold.
And that was Matamore picking the disc up right after the drop, and a pretty nicely weighted perfect throw into the end zone for Loughran.
That touch, how it just sat out into space, is so necessary in these downwind spaces.
We've got MyLink on the PUL, which I believe was designed to tail out of bounds. So Strike is going to be pinned on the sideline over there, albeit not super far down the field. So they don't have that many yards to work. We'll see what they can come up with.
If Erica Bacon were still playing for Strike, I would consider a hammer to the end zone as a viable option.
Ooh, that was a close one for the defender from Indy, but Raisin Johnson able to hold on to it. Here's Beeman Weber over to Steph Wood.
Beeman Weber, essentially a rookie for this Strike team, but has become a crucial part.
Johnson McKee able to track that down, keep it in bounds. Over to Johnson, back to Daly.
Strike moving confidently across the width of this field.
And confidently between the players in the front of the zone, too. The nice slicing throw there to Wood. And Wood just knows exactly where to position herself to make herself available for those. Wood in the center of the field finds Johnson. Johnson has to elevate, but brings it down over to Danielle Byers, a name we will likely be seeing many times for the rest of the game. Looks like Indy has transitioned into person, and we've got Beeman Weber up to Emma Peasley returning to the Minnesota Strike roster for this game and potentially a couple games in the future. So awesome to see her back, and awesome to see her catch the first goal of the game for Strike.
Yeah, Strike is so happy to have Peasley back. And again, you saw a clean hold there for Strike, the execution, but you're still seeing the disc popping up into the air. Look at the snap that Beeman Weber puts on this throw into Peasley. It's how it's cutting through the wind and beating the defender. The timing of Peasley sees the disc going to Beeman Weber, turns, pivots, and heads towards that cone. And this is the chemistry that you're seeing in real time. Strike executing on that downwind. I really think so much of this game is going to be about who can punch in that first upwind score.
Absolutely. So frequently that is how these really windy games end up looking. As an observer and watcher of Frisbee, I like to hope that games don't come down to that. Like, hopefully there will be more than one upwind break, but sometimes that's the cards you're dealt. And so it will be interesting to see the defensive firepower of both squads. Millie Wright with a nice floaty pull, getting the disc to about the 40-yard line, and then D is already set up by the time Tilo picks it up. And once again, first throw Huck to Lofgren, this time a little too far.
So Tilo definitely tallying up the turns, but again, I have to think with how Indy is immediately setting up on defense, this suffocating defense, I think this has to be field position strategy.
Yep. Huck and play D is what I usually call it. We've got Monshine in the back corner working with Fish.
I mean, look at these structures. Any of these is at risk of a Callahan because they are small spaces, Strike getting pushed further and further back, and Indy just in these lanes. Now, is Strike going to be aware enough to call a potential double team?
Looks like they called maybe someone landed out of bounds. I believe that yellow line that we might be seeing in the end zone looks deceiving, but is not actually the line.
That is a crucial, significant error for Strike.
Yep. One that they hopefully will not make again. We've got LG Laura Garanser picking up right on the front cone. Difficult throw, but gets it to Wong, over to Mast. And Mast with a nice inside backhand to Matamore. Two players that we knew to watch for. That is another goal for Indy.
And I love Mast's choice there to step around, throw that inside backhand, because if she leads with the flick, that's a much harder throw to execute into this downwind space and to put accurately. Yeah, I'm going to really keep an eye on this strategy, and I'm going to call it strategy at this point, of that Huck and play. You know, if you're someone who's been a captain, been a coach in these windy situations, it is a very viable strategy. It does entail some risk because you are giving opportunities. Now, let's watch this again. Indy doing such a good job of just sort of flowing downfield. You see Mast throwing that inside backhand, Matamore timing the cut. Jane Cook was right there on her hip. Watch the defense. Cook checking over the shoulder, focusing, is just a step too far away. And Matamore took advantage, saw the disc moving cross field, and timed her cut to perfection.
Yeah, marks for the Strike are going to want to clamp down a little bit. Those were all break throws. and were able to allow an Indy score pretty easily. So we got a pull off again, tailing towards the sideline, although the closer sideline this time. Looks like we are seeing a trap zony look from Red, with Michaela Daly picking up on the sideline here. Finds Johnson. Beeman Weber is ready for the next. Some nice, good continues from Strike here. We've got Johnson McKee on this closer to the sideline. Back to Beeman Weber.
Strike really fighting for that high side field position and being careful about getting trapped on this downwind stadium sideline.
Daly back with the disc, throwing those fakes, moving the cup. Byers, lots of length, able to get a higher disc there. Johnson McKee sort of hanging out in that back corner. Quick movement here to Wood, able to hang on to it. I like that Strike is kind of working here without seeming too rushed. They're taking their time.
These are very crisp throws though, which makes the margin for error very small. They're executing now.
Looks like potentially Byers wouldn't have been in if she had not bobbled it first, but the bobble maybe ensured the goal. So that is Daly to Byers for the downwind, again, clean hold.
Strike with a second consecutive clean hold now. And just again, watch the sharpness of the rotation on these. The give-go action here, that's a small window for Byers. And I don't think Byers even knew that she was in. Again, watch this. Give go, just looking to gain yards, not even focusing on scoring. And I do think you're right, Reba, that bobble brings her in.
Got the observer right there to keep an eagle eye.
But I don't even think it was just Byers who was unaware. I don't think that Red was aware either, and that's where I would love to see the defense collapsing in, being aware of that end zone line and really defending that line, making Byers go further in and making the throw go over the top, which would have been a much more difficult throw to execute.
Yep. Yeah, so hopefully Red looking to put a little bit more pressure defensively on during their next stint out. Now we've got Wright with the pull again for Strike. Another strong pull, getting, it looks like almost to the 30-yard line this time. Wong is going to catch that one and send it up to Tilo. Looks like maybe some poaching from Strike, and Tilo once again is hucking it in that really same direction with the lefty forehand. But
one adjustment, however, Strike did put a flat mark on Tilo, making her throw further out. That was not as well an executed throw, and nor is this swing. Indy gets the short field advantage.
Yep. We've got LG with the disc here, who finds Wong right in the open side under space. So not a clean hold, but a quick turnaround here for Indy.
I think so long as Indy is able to execute like that, we're going to continue to see them doing that exact thing. I would almost love to see Strike send their defense in something of a flying V, where they do a flat mark and maybe two defenders to either side, just to eliminate that throw going off. I'd love to see them force the disc to the side or back first, because Indy is not having to throw enough touches in order to get that score.
Or even just to get the field position.
Yes.
It's not often that you see a team utilize the same sort of starting play 3 points in a row. The throws have not been completed. However, they have been successful in getting them field position. So
Strike needs to find some space for resistance. The crowd, I know, would love to see that too. They are filling in the stands. We've got a good turnout on the sunny, if breezy, Minnesota Saturday afternoon.
All right, and MyLink here with the pull. Indy's pull's not quite getting the same distance as Strike's so far going upwind. They are, however, doing a good job of pinning them on the sideline and setting up that zony look. This one might be a little different than the other ones so far. We got Beeman Weber right on the sideline. Slices inside to Daly, who finds Byers. Ooh, that was a close one, but Wood able to hold on. Back to Johnson. High throw to Daly. Daly holds on to it.
So far, Strike able to peel
And
these
there's
down.
Beckett with a run through D.
Eileen Beckett just going full throttle. Timed that defensive block to
Beautifully.
perfection. Big opportunity. First break opportunity here for Indy Red.
Absolutely. All right, and MyLink with the disc right now. She is playing with Joe's. Looks like there's a stoppage.
Looking like a 4-man cup here from Strike. I would be shocked if there's not a double team on that.
Looks like there is a discussion. Not seeing hand signals, but that would make sense.
Either some contact or maybe a fast count, because it does look like the stall was reset to 0, but they are just taking these little 2-yard.
Oh, MyLink winds up, is looking deep. Can Beeman Weber get there? Yes, and catches it just to be safe. Johnson with a floaty throw, but she has 2 downfield targets. Oh, it goes right over Byers' arms, but we've got Wood cleaning up the pull there. Wood is looking for reset, looking for some help. Stall count's likely getting high, and she finds Johnson McKee in the end zone. Not the cleanest hold we've seen so far, but the job is done.
I liked Indy's shot downfield. It's just about edge execution into the wind. Steph Wood with a fantastic step out, really putting some good shape on that so McKee could get to the disc.
And potentially the first completed huck we've seen in these points, right? Johnson partially able to find, because she has 2 completely wide open downfield targets in Wood and Byers. I think most of us would probably take that look with those 2 receivers being as strong as they are. So seeing how that one kind of faded right in there.
And almost worked to her advantage that it wasn't a flatter throw. I think a flatter throw would have sailed. I don't know that they would have been able to roll it down, bring it down. However, because of that edge, because it died off, as you said, they were able to execute. But yeah, not much in the way of hucks being connected on in this game so far.
All right, we see this very flat mark again, and it does force that around backhand and really good defensive pressure from Monshine. This was actually one of the matchups that the Strike coaches highlighted for us, Monshine on Rachel Mast.
I love how Monshine gets the disc moving quickly. This is essential for getting past the defense, but there's the pressure.
Great block from Wong.
Wong just jumped that lane. Shooting deep here, Jane Cook is in the space.
Looks like Mast is considering calling a foul, maybe some contact there on the reception.
That's a tough one because Cook had a line on the disc. Mast was attacking up line. That's a contested space where it's unclear to me, at least from the first glance, who had right to that space.
I could see Mast arguing that she stopped rotation. And yeah, so unclear. We've again got an observer very nearby, hopefully able to provide some guidance if needed. We'll take one more look here.
And you can see that's just a brutal angle for the disc to be coming in. Mast gets under it, 2 hands.
Does look like the disc is going back, so it looks like a foul contest. And players will reset as if the throw never happened. In PUL games, as you may know, you have the choice of going to observers if you would like their ruling, or you can choose to resolve it within the 2 of you, which is, it seems like is what happened. We do have a quick drop from Garanser, which it turns into a missed throw from right and back to the Indy Red. My head is spinning.
What an incredible lost opportunity for Strike. That field position will be hard to come by and just rushed, but big shot into the end zone, floating. Is it out of bounds? Looks like it just sails out of bounds. Strike player there to make sure that it stayed that way. And we're back to that coffin corner, Reba.
Yes, right, getting the chance to atone for the drop earlier, the missed throw. We've got Fisher back with Monshine. Over to Cook. Right slicing through that cup. Nice slicing throw into Beck.
That was a critical throw from right, but now they really do need to get off this lower sideline.
And they do, as Wright is looking for Cook, but that throw did not quite get where we needed to.
Garansher read that perfectly, just stepped in and authoritatively snatched that disc.
So Indy in the red zone now. We have T-Low, nice inside throw to Garanser.
Serenity almost jumped on that, but Garanser with the poise.
And that is low to Matamore for the Indy score.
That is a classic combination. You're going to see a lot from this red team so far. Both teams just trading points, but this is also a fairly quickly scoring game.
Yeah.
Remember the last truly windy game that Red played in was that low scoring game that went, I believe, to overtime against Milwaukee, but both teams really scoring on a very quick pace. And a big part of that, I think, is the level of execution that a lot of these throws are in fact being completed in spite of the brisk breeze.
We're not getting super long points here, as you were saying. Really nice floaty around lefty flick from Tilo.
That lefty flick is a game changer.
It really is. So we've got just about 49 seconds left in the first quarter here. Reminder that the quarter will continue after the clock expires until there is a score or a turnover. So keep an eye. I guess they added a couple seconds back. So 51 seconds. Keep an eye on that clock there. There may be a couple more points left in this quarter. Once again, Indy does a great job of pinning Strike to the sideline here. Daly over to pick it up. Looking to get started probably pretty quickly here.
Indy doing a good job of making this very difficult. Stall count rising. That was a tiny
Great
window.
Pressure. The glare is affecting my ability to see that number. I believe that's Montenegro. Here's Daly. Here's Johnson. Nice continue from, I jinxed it. Just a little too far out of the reach of Wood. So Indy is going to take it over, heading upwind. Looks like Indy coaches maybe chatting with observers.
So one quick note, unlike is typical in this stadium, so the wind typically goes downwind towards the stands. And right now the wind has actually shifted where it is going to the right and away from your screen. So towards the team's sideline is now the downwind position.
Yep, and looks like Indy coaches have called the timeout, so we will take a quick break here with 14 seconds left. I'm wanting to make sure they can maintain possession until at least the clock runs out. All right, so we're going to take a bit of time to talk about some of our other sponsors. We'll start with the Black Heart of St. Paul, which is a queer soccer bar in the heart of Midway, a bar that brings people together for a drink, drag, or an ultimate watch party. The Black Heart of St. Paul is also the official post-game party location for all Minnesota Strike home games.
Next up, Intuition, a local women-owned market research company focused on the med tech industry. Learn more about them and their work at in2itioninc.com. That's intuitioninc.com.
All right. We are bringing it back in here. If you're not familiar with a couple other differences between the rules of PUL and club sports, or club ultimate, I should say, the teams are allowed to switch their personnel during the timeouts here. So we are seeing different lines, I believe, from both teams. I think we're seeing the starting O-line here from Red, maybe with a couple changes, but Garanser's picking up the disc.
It is one of my favorite strategic elements that differentiates between the casual club or college scene and the professional leagues.
That's a tough drop right after the timeout from Reigns. Indy's going to want that one back. So Strike gets the disc back with just under 10 seconds left. If they can maintain possession, then they will at least guarantee that Indy will not score again before the quarter is over. It does look like Strike has called a timeout now, potentially trying to do the same thing that Indy was doing with the previous timeout call.
Now, this is a huge opportunity. They really want to execute here. And if they are able to hold, it will be all tied up. Remember, Indy started on offense. So right now they are on serve.
Yes, but extra important for Strike that Indy does not score this to make it 5-3. To kind of take that serve away. We are going to kind of keep an eye on how many seconds we have left in this quarter once folks are back on the field. But this quarter sort of felt like it was nonstop, hearts racing for the first 11 and a half minutes, and that has been very stop and start here for the last 30 seconds. So we'll see if we can get some more exciting action here. Looks like now we have 14 seconds left, I think, just trying to keep up to date with our timing. And Johnson will be over to pick it up.
Execution is so important here because there's the pressure to get in, but you have to remember that the time clock essentially doesn't matter.
Beeman Weber overshoots Byers but finds Daly. This can be a big one if Strike can punch it in. Daly back to Beeman Weber. Back to Daly. Daly sees Byers. No continue, unfortunately, but time expires, so Indy will not get another shot. Strike can either score or turn it over.
So close to the end zone line, but Strike is being incredibly patient and just waiting for that next downhill connection.
Peasley with an around throw, and Daly comes down with it. That's a huge score for Strike.
Paisley owes Daly for that one. I almost want to say that just slipped out of her hand. It did not look like she intended that. And again, the time was not a factor. Unlike at the very end of the game, not a factor here. Let's look at this one more time.
I was trying to figure out if it was a high stall.
Paisley faking, that's her second fake. Was a high release, maybe just trying to get that up over the top to Beeman Weber, who is a significant height advantage there, but Daly stepping up and making the play.
And Daly really only won with eyes on the disc the whole time. All right, we are going to take a quick breather after an exciting first quarter. We will see you on the other side for quarter number 2. Thanks for being with us. Welcome back, folks, to quarter number 2 of Minnesota Strike's home game versus Indy Red. We have Strike starting on offense this time, heading upwind, which strikes me as surprising because I'm pretty sure they started going upwind at the beginning of the first quarter, but maybe my rules knowledge isn't quite up to speed.
So Indy did start, and then they are flipping sides after the end on that possession. I do agree. Seems like a
Beeman Weber with a throw that pops over a pile, and disc ends up on the ground.
Byers almost saved it, but again, we are seeing the difficulty of that execution upwind. Snapshot into the end zone. Was it kept through contact?
Oh.
No, it's down.
That's Lawfern with an unfortunate drop.
Now, something I want to note, it looks like Indy has put essentially a downwind line out. So we are seeing Garanser, we're seeing Matamore, we're seeing Tilo all on the field right now.
Kishner's throw pops over to find Wood. Wood looking for Beeman Weber.
So again, I'm going to make that hit home one more time. Both offenses are playing each other right now. That's a decision by Indy to play their offense going downwind.
Beeman Weber again slicing through to get to Daly. This throw pops up, but Byers has lots of space to track it down. Nice cross-field movement from Strike. Daly back to Johnson.
Strike doing a great job of not getting pinned to
Just a
that
bobble
sideline.
from Byers. Unfortunate turnover.
That is brutal. That's going to be a really, really tough one. And now the value of having that offensive line that has been going downwind this whole time.
Here's Wong with the disc. Not a ton of movement downfield for her, and she just hucks it and hopes Johnson McKee is able to get that block.
I love the immediate execution, gaining yards, gaining position. Strike needs to move the disc as quickly as possible and avoid getting pinned on that sideline.
Johnson McKee looking for some options back to Daly, again slicing through. Kishner with a great job keeping it in bounds, just towing that line.
Strike
Johnson
legs looking a little tired right now. They're being a little sluggish.
Oh, just out of the reach of Byers. That was a nice leading pass from Beeman Weber, but just a hair too far. Not sure Byers was expecting it.
Possibly. And that I love that Beeman Weber is taking these shots to really break open the field. And I think that's a little bit of, like you were saying, a bit of a chemistry thing, but she needs to be taking those shots.
Yeah, and we trust Beeman Weber to hold it down in the backfield. I believe they use they, them pronouns. Apologies for misusing those previously. So they will pick up the disc. Finds Johnson. Johnson into Wood. And a block from Matamore, giving Indy Red really good field position.
So again, downwind for Indy, and they've got that handler set who's so comfortable in this space, but Beeman Weber just pounces the lane.
So, you know, we were asking for some longer points, I guess, and here we are.
Big saving grab by Daly. Daly is just getting it done today for Strike.
Crowd goes wild. Johnson with the disc closer to the far sideline. That disc floats up. Can Byers track it down? No, not quite.
First and second efforts, no good for Strike, but they did gain some yards there, really trying to force this upwind position. Someone needs to score upwind, I think, really to break this game open. But Indy being very patient and really working the legs of this Strike offensive unit.
Wood in there trying to cut off that give and go, but opens up the around pretty easily. We've got Saunders with the disc on the far side. Inside throw to Tilo.
Red zone here for Indy.
Red zone indeed. Here's Lowe looking for Matamore. Finds Mast. That one fell real fast. Great job, Mast, hanging on to it. Has Lowe streaking right across the front, but decides to look to Matamore instead. Give and go, finding Mast right in front of the end zone with inches to go. Matamore and Mast playing catch. And then Garanser makes her mark, loses her mark there, and gets the goal. That was a hard-fought point. We can see our Indy players exhausted after that one.
A brilliant cut and choice by Garanser. I fully think that Beeman Weber expected Garanser to go backfield. But again, watch these executions across. That's such a tough catch, just at that like below the knees angle.
Great block in the backfield for Matamore. And we can see Daly here saving the disc through a pile, getting horizontal. Ooh, and defender hopping right over her too.
Yeah, that was an incredible layout. Just good awareness. That went over 4 different people before Daly saved it. But here, watch this. Absolute chemistry. And Garanser just blowing by. Again, watch this. Beeman Weber had position, but didn't quite adjust enough. And I do think was expecting, thought that she had Garanser, that they had Garanser sealed to force them into that backfield position. Garanser, though, just drives to the cone and gets it done.
And looking at the clock, that 1 point took almost 5 minutes off the clock compared to our points in the first quarter, which were speedy. So just worth noting, we are taking more time off the clock already.
And effectively first break of the game. Now, that was a downwind break.
But it was a break.
Was a break, and so that's going to be a tough one. I really do think that field position and who's starting where will have a chance to come into play.
We've got Johnson McKee in the center of the field. Floaty throw over to Peasley. Red are able to cut off that continue to Wood. So Peasley finds the reset. So close on that throw.
A lot of the same personnel for Strike out on the field right now. They didn't choose to put out a different line. I think just expecting counting on their core fitness here. But Red with an entirely fresh line of legs, there's a lot of opportunity for D's here.
Absolutely. Here's Johnson with the disc. Marked by Mylink, getting lots of space in there. And Daly throwing some fakes around. Looking a little stagnant here from Strike. We want to kind of get that disc moving faster. We've sort of seen that it is a good strategy for them when they can keep moving the disc. All right, here's the one that slices through, but again, no continue. Strike is being patient, which we like to see, but we need those continue throws to get down the field. See if we can get one this time. There we go. We got Peasley. Peasley with a couple options, choosing to hang on to it.
Both teams being so patient in the red zone right now.
Oh, and again, we have jinxed it. Just a little far from a bidding Wood.
Broadcaster's curse is alive and well in the booth today. But again, I think that is just emblematic of the amount of effect that wind is having on these throws. You have to be so crisp to execute in these small field situations.
Umeno with the disc, one of the captains for Indy Red. And Indy Red is trapped right here in this coffin corner.
This has been such a tough area to get out of, and the strategy that we've seen be the most successful, that's a tough turn in the backfield, has been those chiseling backfield to upfield cuts, and all of the cuts were coming the opposite direction. So just maybe not enough of an experienced handler core out there on the field for Indy Red. Very short field for Strike.
We'll see what they come up with. Johnson with an around. That's going to float over the head of Byers.
Daly
and Daly once again
another
collects the disc in the end zone.
And the sideline rushes onto the field. Daly is putting on a performance today. Third incredible save of this game.
One thing I think Daly's doing so well is having her eyes up and ready for every disc that goes in the air on offense or defense. She's keeping track of where the disc is, and sometimes when no one else is able to find it. This is a really good example of it.
I know we're so hesitant to call plays of the game in the first quarter, in the first half, but I do think that midfield layout might have been the play of the game, that horizontal layout from Daly. But so far putting on one heck of a performance here in this first half.
You know, I might say it could be the play of the game if they had scored that upwind point.
Oh, that is very fair.
If that had been a result, if the result of that had been the upwind hold.
You just want your cherry on top.
I guess I do. Manifesting for this one. So 5-all here midway through the second quarter. We get another look at our crowd here at Seafoam Stadium.
And again, remember, this is advantage Indy Red because they are still up right now. They're going downwind, and so they have kind of broken ahead in this curve. It is going to be so essential for Strike to be able to shut down Tilo's incredible lefty breaks.
So far has not happened, although this is a missed throw from Mast, so we have an upwind opportunity for Strike.
Not often that you see Mast and Matamore fail to connect on the field, but it just happened.
Lee over to Fisher. Fisher looking for Fireside Ostergaard. That one is too low, so Indy gets back.
I think Strike hitting the right spaces, but needs to execute those better, get it up into that upwind. What an incredible grab from Mast.
Mast finds Garanser. Garanser looking for the traffic to die down a little bit. Low with some big fakes.
Mast did such a good job of clearing that lane, getting downfield, making himself viable. Laura Garanser, though, shake and bake in the end zone.
That is the sign of players who have played together for a long time and know what each other are looking for.
And you really only saw 3 players active in that red zone space. Fascinating that they just played the 1/3, but think about how much trouble both teams have had on that far side cone. So they're kind of playing the high side corner in the downwind side.
Similar.
Garanser, Mast, just playing on pure chemistry and clearing space. Claire Lee just caught. Watching the player needs to do that shoulder check. Garanser, masterful awareness of the defender positioning and her teammates' throws.
And with the height advantage on almost all of her matchups as well. So
Claire Lee's a fair matchup, though. I like that
yes,
matchup.
oh, agreed. I'm a big Claire Lee fan, don't get me wrong. Garanser just has some height on lots of her matchups.
This is absolutely true. No, but I like that matchup. I like that duo against each other. Hopefully we're going to see a little bit more of that.
This is the longest pull we've seen from Red yet, getting to almost to the 30-yard line. Johnson McKee picks up and heads it over to Johnson, looking for some downfield movement. Great bid from Thomas. Byers releases, looking for Wood. Perfect throw, and Wood brings it in. That is about as easy as it gets.
You say easy, however, Red defender was just fingertips away. The focus from Wood to both time that cut, get legs downfield, but then watch the disc into her hands past the bidding defender. Watch this one more time. Gorgeous execution by Byers. And again, look how close that was. Defender right there. We'll get one more side view of it. Big grip, nice height. Defender really putting on the pressure, and the focus from Woods past a bidding Laser.
And Laser, we heard from coaches, this is their PUL debut coming to us from Washington University in St. Louis. So getting that Wood matchup right in the first game, clearly coaches trust and believe in her abilities, and she did a really good job tracking that down.
I mean, as a coach, don't you love a good athlete coming in? You could just throw on the defense, say, hey, go make something happen.
Yeah.
Both these teams have lost some of the older generation, that initial group that started in the PUL, but lots of young talent coming up through. Again, we are still looking for that first upwind score.
Yes, we are. All right, Tilo again with that lefty forehand break. Mast hits the ground to catch that disc right on the sideline. And Lowe can't hang on to it after shaking the mark. Cook gets it started right away. There's Monshine hitting the ground. Can Strike hold on to it and score upwind?
This is the best position that Strike has had so far. Again, we just highlighted, no one has scored upwind. Can Strike do it now?
Monshine surveying. Wonder if coaches are considering calling a timeout here, and Monshine will do it herself.
Monshine says, I won't wait. Let's execute
I'm the
this
coach
here.
now.
But also, what presence of mind. Just had that huge layout bid. The adrenaline's pumping. You're headed into the wind. Probably didn't like what she was seeing. She's semi-pinned to the sideline. Defense had been smothering and really gotten in between her and all of her players. Watch this one more time.
It was like a clap catch layout.
And keeping possession through contact with the ground, because there was a lot of contact there.
We want to take this time to talk about a couple of our sponsors during this broadcast. The live broadcast is brought to you by the Premier Ultimate League. The PUL is a 501c6 nonprofit. The league has been community funded since day one, and we are so grateful for the support. We ask that you consider donating to help us continue to transform and fulfill our mission. Head to premierultimateleague.com to donate today. All right, back to the action right away here. We've got Johnson picking up, so it looks like Strike has thrown on their standard O-line right here in front of the end zone. Can they make it happen, Kelsey?
This is such a crucial point. Strike running what looks like a zipper play, really creating space in that lane. Now they are just feet away. Woods with the disc.
And Wood with the Beckett matchup. Oh no!
Over hands, over more hands. Daly was in the area.
Just
Indy
a
gets the
heartbreaker.
disc. Indy with Tilo picking up. I want to see a flat mark right here because you know Indy just wants to send it.
And that they do. Getting field position, Beeman Weber looking maybe to try to slap it back in the opposite direction. But we do get the position for red.
If I were Beeman Weber, I almost would have considered getting my body in between the disc and trying to stop it there. Now they're pinned against the sideline, and it did go another 5 yards downfield. But Strike has possession and has their offensive line on the field. This is a huge one for Indy to put the pressure on and really be heads on a swivel.
Strike gets it across the field to Byers. Byers back to Daly. And Johnson McKee wasn't able to hold on to it. Lots of pressure there from Rains of Indy Red.
Tilo picking up. Now, are they close enough to the end zone? No, Tilo sends it. Mattamore was in the area, but just too far. What a duel here. And now Strike, with 2 throws from Indy, will have to go the entire length of the field.
Daly picking it up right in the center here, over to Beeman Weber. Another throw through the cup. Byers' throw goes over the intended target, Cook, but finds Johnson. Johnson McKee playing catch there.
If Beeman Weber gets the disc again, I would love to see just some field, like a chance at
Great
a hut.
block there from Mast. Right on the sideline, gets that poach block.
Because now this is too easy.
Yep.
This close field position, they had that gorgeous break opportunity there.
And Garenser here to pick up long mark from Beeman Weber on Garenser. Just finds the quick inside to Rains, and that is a downwind hold.
Johnson did such a good job of really denying that cone on the first cut, but the second cut coming, Indy just pouring it on. That was a brilliantly played and executed point. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is field position in action.
And that one's really got to hurt for the Strike. They were 1 throw away from punching it in upwind. A little more patience, a little more finesse on those forehands maybe could have made the difference. Look at how many bodies there are there. Oh, that is brutal.
When I'm counting bodies, I'm looking at over 1, over 2, 3, 4, 5 different players before, I believe it was Garenser finally
gets
got
that
a,
D.
a
And that
hand
height,
on the
again,
disc.
is crucial. Oh, yeah, that one's got to hurt.
I would have loved to see another shot. It's so tempting to just take that one shot on goal, but I almost would have loved, instead of an upline cut, just a short 2-foot pass to the cone.
Yep.
Because that's a nasty corner. Again, the wind shifted. The wind is now going towards that cone specifically. That is a brutally tough throw to execute.
Yep. Well, we are once again on serve. Here we are, 7-6 Indy.
Strike having to get some fresh legs out there. Indy really using their depth. They are just rolling fresh lines. It's such an interesting choice to do upwind, downwind lines right now. And I think right now it's paying off for them.
Another pull that rolls out the side. Doesn't get a ton of good field space for Indy. Johnson picking up on the far sideline. Joe's on the mark. Finds a great inside throw to Peasley, up to Wood. Wood looking for some help. Finds Beeman Weber in the center.
Beeman Weber has been such an outlet for this offensive unit.
Absolutely. There to Peasley in the center of the field again, just 5 yards out. Oh, and Beeman Weber just can't hold on to it. There's 15 seconds on the clock. That is an unfortunate drop.
Right now, clock still going, and I think Indy is just going to hold the disc. Yeah, they really wanted that clock to go. That is a crucial missed opportunity because I believe they will reverse sides again. Indy with the drop.
And that's going to be the end of the second quarter.
That is a tough one. So Indy is up, and I believe they will start with the disc, and they will start in that upwind position. It's really early to call. That might have decided the game.
We shall see. Only time will tell. Well, it's been a windy game as expected, Kelsey. We're going to send it to break. We'll have a halftime interview, hopefully, when we come back on the other side. But thanks for sticking with us during this exciting matchup. See you soon. And welcome. We are back here with an interview. Laura Osterlund is on the sideline with Indy Red assistant coach Sam Gabrielson. Head send it down to you, Laura.
Can we please get some camera views?
Yeah, so I'm here with Coach Sam.
That's happening on the field?
It's windy.
It is certainly.
What are you doing to adapt to the wind? I know
Ryan,
all of our
copy?
matchups have been
Yeah,
windy,
okay, just
Yeah.
like every year. So
You're good.
Yeah, so to adapt to the wind, I mean, one, like defensively, we're trying to put them in situations where they're having to throw stuff like against the wind that's going to push it, further than they were intending for the receivers. And then for ourselves, it's like, okay, setting up our cuts a bit longer so that we can hit somebody on the downwind side with a bit more, like we can throw with a little more pace so I can hit them in the chest rather than having finesse a throw. But then going on the upwind side, it's trying to avoid getting trapped on the kind of coffin side of the field because the wind is pushing us towards that sideline as much as possible and fighting to keep it on this high side of the field so we have more access to play with.
and then what are you telling the team going into the second half? You've got a 1-point lead.
Yeah. So right now, is defensively is keeping the pressure. We're doing a good job at generating turnovers. Just gotta kind of find a way to break through the upwind and score on that side of the field. But keeping the pressure on D, and then offensively is like, we have a lot of spacing. We have a lot of athletes. Like, let's utilize our skill sets to the fullest extent to continue to have that consistent flow on O.
All right, and there you have it. Good luck in the second half. Back to you in the booth.
Thanks, Laura. Great to hear from Coach Gabrielson of Indy Red. We're having some pretty adorable stuff going on the field right now.
I know it is not officially May 4th, but a lot of May the 4th be with you lightsaber action going on right now.
the second most exciting thing to happen on the field today, I would say. We're going to kick it out to another break, and we'll see you on the other side.
Hello, fans of the Minnesota Strike. If you're looking to buy your next home or sell the home you're already in, you can trust Realty Guy to help you navigate this treacherous housing market. Bitten by a radioactive housefly in 1993, mild-mannered realtor Brent Johnson became Realty Guy, your real estate super agent. Brent Johnson, Realty Guy with Keller Williams Realty, teamrealtyguy.com.
And we are back. Before we start with our third quarter, we want to shout out a couple of our sponsors. Kelsey, take it away.
At Northwestern Health Sciences University, people come first. in the classrooms, the clinics, and the hallways. Learn more about their colleges, programs, and online courses at www.nwhealth.edu. And if you are enjoying today's stream, please consider donating by scanning the QR code on your screen or at strikeultimate.com. Minnesota Strike and Indy Red are nonprofit organizations, and all donations go towards pay or play, travel costs, and bringing you the high-quality live streams like this one today. Thank you for supporting the Strike.
And we are back in action here. Strike pulling towards the upwind direction. So Indy starting here on the right side of our screens. Wong in the center of the field has the disc. Over to Kuznicki. Oh, great bid by Wright, but Umeno is able to hold on to it, and then an immediate huck looking for Beckett with the height. Monshine comes down with it, but lands really hard on Beckett. Hopefully she is okay. The crowd has gone quite silent after that one.
On the field.
So Paquette will call an injury and looks like come off the field. I love that look deep, and especially with Paquette as the defender. Monshine there gets up.
Maybe took a hip to the face.
I think momentum carrying through. That's a tough one. I'll be interested to see if that one is played as a call. Mast coming in for the substitution.
All well wishes to Beckett after that play.
So Beckett and Mast were the subs for Indy. It does look like Raisin Johnson was brought in for the Strike, and Strike will keep the disc. This is a huge downwind break opportunity.
Absolutely.
Reba, we were talking about, there were some questions. Tough, high release are just having a rough day today here in Seafoam Stadium. We talked about the potential question of should Strike offense have started downfield. What a laser, though. Shot to the end zone.
Monshine again.
Monshine
with the D.
up.
Byers looking for that huck, but not taking it. We've back to Johnson. Finds Claire Lee on the far side. Indy's given a lot of space here.
If I were Strike, I would strongly consider a shot deep, and I think Byers should have been the one to take it with Rachel Cook in that deep space.
Jane Cook is a formidable downfield option here. And this is what we see now. That was not choosing not to take the option, and a really easy score option here in the upwind space for Red.
This is critical, and there it is.
That is Graber to Umeno.
That is the first upwind break. Wait, we're seeing stoppage.
I will be honest, I am not entirely sure what's happening on the
I think
timeout
was called. That is brutal.
Oh, with the whiplash.
And there was some confusion. That is such a key opportunity. I fully expect Red to punch it in again. Again, I think this is a failure of strategy, because I do think that Minneapolis should have played field position.
Yep.
Now watch this. This is incredible defense twice by Monshine.
Umeno with the disc.
But once Indy had the disc in this red zone situation, and again, I think just the chaos causing the coaches, they want to take advantage of this. I do think this is a good timeout call.
Yep.
Brutal when, yes, they ended up executing, but it was kind of in the 11th hour, because look, stall 1, stall 2. Yes, it's on stall 3, but it looks like Minneapolis had clamped. Now, offense on the field for Indy Red, short field position. I wonder what their go-to is going to be.
Yeah, and hopefully with the confidence.
Because it looks like Mast is in isolation near that front cone.
Yep, and we see Monshine taking that matchup. All right, Garenser with the disc. Let's see what we got. Immediate inside, and the disc hits the ground. What a heartbreaker for Indy.
If I'm Strike, I'm sending it.
Yeah.
What are they going to choose to do?
Cook picks it up immediately, finds Wright. That was a low throw. Oh, what a huge block there from Saunders.
Strike has found such success doing the quick attack, getting the disc moving. But again, they are losing this on field position. Tilo, first true misexecution throw. That one intended for Matamore. Again, I'm so concerned if I'm Strike.
Oh, what a sky from Claire Lee. And drop after that.
We've seen so many of these short field drops. Again, the disc just, if there's a slight bit of exposure to the wind is taking it.
Yep. Garenser with the disc. Finds Mast in the backfield. And not a lot of movement. It looks like maybe a pick downfield has caused some stagnation, so we will pause for a second here.
Clearly getting the Mast matchup. Fireside Ostergaard right now, we're at the Garenser matchup. These are dynamic defensive players, but Mast and Garenser have so much chemistry, so many years of playing together. Heck, they have a national championship together.
They sure do. Saunders with the disc. Looking for Garenser.
Fireside Ostergaard took away 2 options there before Garenser's length brought that reset in.
Potentially a foul on the mark or a travel. The energy of Indy Red I am feeling is sort of building up, building up. If they score this upwind, I'm expecting to see quite a celebration here. So back in play, we've got Garenser. And just a drop from Matamore coming in a little too hot.
Monshine cranks it, really wants that deep look, does send it. There's the field position, and Fireside Ostergaard brings it up.
Up to Jane Cook.
This is exactly what Indy Red did to strike in the second quarter. There it is.
There's a travel call, I believe.
And I think that's because it was thrown also from inside the end zone.
Absolutely.
That probably needed to be rechecked.
I thought Ellie's foot was right on the line when the throw went off, but I am no expert. So Ellie, Fireside Ostergaard right on the line, bringing it back in. Hopefully Strike can punch this one in just like the last one.
A lot of Indy Red players throw to space.
And Kumro lays out to make it for sure.
Just when we thought the energy was completely Indy's direction, that is a really significant win. There is that downwind for Strike, and we're back even.
We sure, yeah, the scoreboard I believe is not accurate right now. It should be even.
What a chaotic point, Reba. There were so many turns, short field, high, just all over the place. We saw a little bit of everything there. And thank heaven Strike finally decided to release downfield. You're seeing that throw. Fireside Ostergaard just read it to perfection.
Fireside Ostergaard's such a dynamic downfield presence. We've seen some amazing fiery catches from them over the years.
But I love the hustle from Indy, getting downfield, making that one tough. They did everything they could to earn that one back. That's going to be brutal that they didn't punch in. Now both teams having difficulty punching in that upwind side.
Absolutely. Let's see if Indy can sort of calm the nerves a little bit and have a quick, easy hold. Hopefully no turns here on this offensive stand going back downwind. For those folks wondering, I don't think the wind has really changed at all. It's going in the same direction it was at the beginning of the game, from the left to the right side.
Pace has definitely slowed down.
It certainly has.
We were on a much crisper, quicker pace, a lot fewer execution errors. But I do think the intensity on defense has punched up a notch, and I personally find that exciting.
Absolutely. As a D-line player at heart, I agree with you. We've got Garenser, Lowe, and Reigns in the backfield for Red. Lowe finds an arcing again, lefty forehand to Loughran. Now Saunders with the disc. Back to Lowe, right on that far sideline. Easy as pie. We've got Lowe to Mast. That's a really good stand from Indy Red.
Lowe's downfield throws are gorgeous. I think just has dialed in to this wind, had that one on a dime downfield. That was too easy considering the tempestuous nature of that previous point.
Yeah, it's got to feel good for Red. They put their O-line out. They take care of business. They don't even really have much trouble completing passes on that one. And again, you know, as we said at the beginning of the game, if Indy's going to take the win if nobody can score in that upwind direction.
And remember, that is the line that was just on that played a good chunk of that previous point after the timeout.
Yep. And we see some of that energy. Mass is celebrating. I would love to see more of that, like to propel either team towards that upwind end zone. Hopefully we'll get it at some point.
When both teams are trading body shots like this, you have to celebrate the little things.
True.
You need that to hype up and then to get the energy back. This is a huge opportunity here. Again, we're still looking for that upwind execution. Right now, Indy has that edge because if they just continue on serve, they will win this game.
Sticking with the sideline strategy is Indy Red on the pull. We've got Daly over to pick it up on the far sideline, right at the 50-yard line. Beeman, Weber, and Johnson back there with Daly, as we've seen on most of these O points. Finds Wood over closer to our side of the field. What are you thinking? What are you seeing from this zone look, Kelsey?
Indy really trying to collapse and present holes and then cut them off, and you'll see defenders kind of hovering on the back hip of some of these offensive players, and I think just creating opportunities for the disc to pop up just like it did.
Yep. Just over the hands of Johnson. Wong picks it up and is looking for that huck into the upwind end zone. Great read from Kuznicki, comes down with it right up to Mylink. Indy's going to want to be really patient here, right on the end zone, and they've done it. There's that emphatic spike from Wong. That's the energy I've been looking for. We officially have our first upwind score from Red.
That is the energy, and that almost feels like the game winner because it has taken so much energy to get to that point. Now, both teams have proven that they can get within striking zone of the upwind side. However, one of the things that I'm seeing from Indy versus Strike is I'm seeing a higher risk tolerance of taking bigger upwind shots. And when it's working, it's putting them in a better position to get going upwind. I'd like to see more of those. I think the risk is worth it.
It's a great grab from Kuznicki, tracking the disc all the way into the ground. Also, just want to note, really good to see Paquette back on the field after taking an injury a couple points ago.
100%.
That's got to feel good for Indy. Look at that release of energy there from Wong. She's pumped up.
One thing I do want to highlight, there were so many Strike players who were within a foot or two of their defenders. I wish they had collapsed more again on that front end zone line, because in this windy situation, I'd rather force a more difficult over the top throw.
So here is where we see if Strike can respond going in this upwind direction on offense. We've got our kind of typical O-line here, and again, the zone look from Indy.
A big opportunity for Indy here because they could kind of score the up and down across the river. So tight there for Johnson McKee. These are small windows, and the defense running
again
through.
From Saunders. That is her second run through D.
Almost bookends there. That's a tough corner. You know they want to get out of that and swing across field.
Matamore to Garanser. Garanser is right on the verge of the end zone. Goes for the around to Mast.
A little confused by Strike's marks. It looks like they are forcing in what is effectively the downwind, but the defensive doesn't seem to be on the same page. That was way too easy, and Red is hyped up.
That is Garanser's third goal of the game, along with 2 assists. And that's, again, I don't want to say nail in the coffin because we have 5 minutes left in the third quarter. There is still plenty of time. But getting that upwind break and then the other break, the downwind break right after, is a huge boost for Red.
Really turning the page there. That's a big one. If I'm Strike, I'm putting out the strongest line that I can. You've got to notch this one in. You want to do it authoritatively, and then you've really got to earn that upwind. Like, there's no way around it. It has to happen. And kind of ironic, Reba, I want you to remember back to prior to the game, we were talking to the Minneapolis Strike coaches. Do you remember how confident they were speaking about how the defense was executing going upwind in the wind?
Yeah, that we haven't seen that necessarily to the extent we'd want to in this game so far. There's still plenty of time left, as we said, but wanting to really dial in on those upwind points next time we've got a chance. Pull is up from Indy.
That's a nice roll.
Absolutely. We have Carly Ekstrom on the field here. So different line than we normally see going downwind. She looks for right, and that throws just a little too far, bounces off the hands of right.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Ekstrom hadn't really been on the field going this downwind direction yet, and the touch needed for those downwind spaces. And again, for players that hadn't been taking these touches, it's these small execution throws not going where you think they're going to throw. Cook now with a big one towards the end. For Kishner is there, and that is in.
Absolutely beautiful weighted throw from Cook, who we often see more in the receiving side of things, but perfect throw for Kishner.
Red continuing to prove that they can earn the opportunities, but this might be something where they consider making sure that they have a lead or premier handler on all lines, so that when they get those opportunities, they have someone who can really master that counterattack without having to use one of their timeouts.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we've got the downwind point from Strike. Can they make some moves going upwind? That is really the name of the game here. We have a similar line, actually. We've got, for Strike, I should say, we've got Ekstrom, Wright, Cook, and Lee on the field here.
And that's the advantage of having scored so quickly, that they then have effectively fresh legs out on the field.
The standard O-line from Red as well. We're seeing familiar names: Matamore, Garanser, Tilo, Mast, Loughran.
Again, this is the line that we've seen largely going in that downwind direction for Red. So very comfortable. You know Tilo's throws are dialed in at this point. Strike doing a good job of putting those big flat marks up, making it difficult. This is the first time we've seen Red really having to execute in these small backfield spaces. How soon before they send it?
And that one is going to float right over Garanser. We actually saw Lowe take off deep and was not back there to sort of anchor that backfield, and maybe that was part of the turnover there.
That's a gorgeous crossfield. Cook rose up, and I love the choice to go, but Laura Garanser just ate that up, anticipated exactly where you just want a player of her caliber camping out.
Rains finds Mast. Mast with that big fake sends it up to Tilo, who again is in a downfield space in this possession.
Monshine with the flat mark, really wanting to force into her way.
Oh, Garanser pulls it in with the pressure from Cook coming from the backside. Great grab and an excellent goal from the Indy Red.
We talked about Daly having a game for Strike in the first half. You know who's having a game right now? Laura Garanser.
Sure is. That is goal number 4 for LG and assist number 4 for Tilo. Cook does a really good job not avoiding contact there. She is coming in from the backside to try to get the goal, but doesn't make it a dangerous play, so that's a good move there. But great grab from Garanser.
Cook was right there. Again, credit to the safe play, but I just want to give y'all a scope for those that pay attention to plus minus. Right now, Laura Garanser is +7. And with all the touches she's had, only one turn, +7 so far here in the third quarter.
4 goals, 2 assists, 2 Ds. That is impressive work from LG. One of the best to do it. We've got just over 3.5 minutes left in the third quarter. Indy Red is not a stranger to extremely long points in the third quarter. They had a game a few weeks ago with a point that lasted almost the entire third quarter. So I'm glad to see that this game is moving a little faster than that. We got another pull that rolls over to the sideline, gives defense plenty of time to set up, with Johnson picking up for Strike.
And you can see both teams adopting this strategy of putting a mostly flat mark and really dragging a defender into that throwing lane space. Both teams wanting emphasis on forcing more throws, more touches, because it's more opportunity for mistakes to be made.
Strike essentially moving only backwards here so far. Daly over the top finds Kishner. Great grab hitting the ground. Would love to see that continue, come a little faster for Strike, but Daly has it in the center field over to Regan.
One of the best finds so far by Strike, but they're not getting that second continuation. So far, these have been one-off only. They're gaining yardage, but it's taking a lot of throws to get there.
Johnson McKee with that around to Johnson. Johnson fakes the scuba and then just a high release that hits the ground faster than intended.
Again, this has been the game where high releases come to die.
Yeah. Huge throw from Umeno. Beckett is the receiver you're going to want to have when you're releasing those, but that one just didn't quite have the shape you need when you're going upwind. And we see Beckett also immediately return to that deep space in the zone. Strike, though, is working it through the backfield. We've got Johnson. There's the scooper to Johnson McKee up to Kishner. There's some nice quick movement to Byers. Johnson and Johnson McKee.
We're seeing
no relation.
More of the crisp throws that we saw in the first half from Strike. I like that they've regained their poise because the pressure from Red has been unrelenting.
Wood right in the center of the field looking for an outlet. Finds one in Byers. And Wood streaks up field to find that continue. Isn't able to hit it.
Stall count rising. Kishner to the cone.
And an emphatic spike. Byers to Kishner for that downwind hold.
That was crucial. It needed it to be clean. Red did a good job of forcing a lot of touches on Strike, but again, that was a crispness that we haven't seen from their offensive unit.
Great grab from Kishner.
Quite a few points. Really fantastic athletic play. We've seen so many athletic plays. Again, both of these teams talented. Lots of up-and-coming talent, but also just players who are executing well in adverse conditions.
And I think when the conditions are tough, like when it is windy, when it gets cold, when it's really hot, that athleticism is what can keep you going. The ability to lay out and catch discs that didn't go where it was supposed to, or the ability to sky your defender when there's a really floaty disc. These things are extra important during these really windy games, and we're really seeing them come out to play today.
So we've got a minute left on the clock. Remember, Strike knows they have to get an upwind stop and then an upwind break to have a chance in this game. Whereas Indy has...
They can coast if they need to.
Not that cruise control, but definitely they have more cushion. And I think that makes them almost more able to take risks, but I don't think we will see a difference in their field position strategy.
We have Tilo just hucking it, even with the sort of two defenders trying to take that look away.
I love Monshine immediately striking for a large field gainer, but here, pinned to the sideline, needs an option.
Oof. Oh, just bounces off Serenity's hands. That's a really tough one.
The wind just causing unpredictability. That's a two-handed catch needed for sure. That's going to be a tough one that Serenity will want back.
We now have about 10 yards out of the end zone, 5 yards even. Garanser picks up the disc, looking for Tilo. Switch there from Strike defenders.
Strike did a good job of absorbing there, but really getting all of the resets they want, forcing Red backwards.
Garanser to Matamore. Matamore over the top, finds Lowe for the Red score.
Tracy Lowe, so dangerous when she releases from that backfield space, just got lost in the mix. And on that downwind side, high release has been truly effective.
Matamore also had a +5 for this game with 2 goals, 3 assists, and 1 D by my count. So having a really good game. Again, this is something we talked about at the start of the game, but some of the stars for Red, Rachel Mast, Makeda Matamore, just hadn't been having the same impact in their first couple games that we would expect. These folks we've seen play on either the Worlds level or at the highest level in club with Ann Arbor Hybrid. Both of them, those two players specifically, the stars are really coming out to play tonight, and really good to see them back in form that we would expect.
I think this is more of the Indy Red that we saw that really had a dominant performance last year. Again,
made it to playoff weekend.
Yeah, when you've already got those losses on your schedule, it's a tough hole to dig out of. Right now, Indy in a very comfortable position, up 3. Again, you expect this downwind to go, but Indy has already proven that they can get it done.
If you're a Strike here, your number one piece of advice, do not turn it over. Ideal, huge layout from Beckett.
Ideal would be to score, of course, but do not turn it over before that clock expires, and we have 3 seconds to go. Here's Beeman Weber. Finds Johnson McKee. Again, a great bid on defense from Thomas. Strike will now have as long as they need to score, and that they do. Beeman Weber to Byers expediently.
That was crucial. That was exactly what Strike had failed to do there earlier in the game. You saw them under pressure, still executing, watching the disc into hands, taking the smart throw.
All right, exciting moves here in our game between the Strike and the Red. We are going to send it to break, and we'll see you in quarter number 4. Welcome back to Seafoam Stadium here in St. Paul. We have an exciting fourth quarter to wrap up an exciting game already here. We have the Indy Red and Minnesota Strike heading into quarter number 4. We do want to take a quick second to highlight one of our sponsors. Check out a bar of their own in South Minneapolis, the Midwest's first sports bar to exclusively show women's sports, including the away games for your Minnesota Strike. And we are heading right into quarter number 4. Another roller pull here from Indy Red, pinning the Strike on the far sideline. And this is a big possession for Strike. If they can put this one in, they are only down by 1 again. Of course, as we've said probably a million times, that upwind score for Strike is going to be crucial, but this is the first step to clawing back into this game.
Yeah, you can definitely see Strike's offensive formation has adjusted. They're trying to proactively be in those upfield spaces in the zone. This is where I would have liked to see an adjustment from Red. They've shown, I think, the same look too many times. And right now, while that front triangle is quite effective, if you look at the closeness of how many players are right by the disc, and off to the right of your screen, just off your screen, is Steph Woods.
Completely alone, but that is a hard one to hit.
Yep.
Looks like you're looking to get a little more involved.
But once they hit that connective tissue, if they're through, they're off to the races. And that, of course, is the temptation.
And Byers finds Wood. Beautifully weighted throw right on the sideline. Again, continuation not there.
a little less windy day, I would have loved to see Anique Regan go opposite corner for the flick from Woods.
Just over the outstretched hands of Byers. That is a turnover.
And I think that's where we're seeing it. That's such a risky corner to throw to right now, because that looked like it was going to be on the money. And you can see Touch just wants to set it down, but instead the wind carries it and Byers cannot make a play.
Wong picks it up, finds Biquette, who does a bit of a push-up on the sideline there, but keeps the disc in.
This is a big one. Biquette looking downfield. Again, want to get it down, but Beeman Weber in perfect position, and Strike already on the move.
And hearing some fire calls, potentially Red moving to person defense. Daly with no mark finds Wood. Wood with the cross-field look to Byers, and Byers lays out for the score.
We are so used to seeing that Wood to Byers connection, and finally it connects this game. That was key.
I love a Byers layout. I feel like we so often see her skying people, and she's so good in the air, but she can hit the ground too. Let's see this again. Perfect form.
If you're a young player learning to lay out, that is a good play to clip. Watch that, watch it again. Commits. And then on the land, that's a big one. And you see the celebration from Johnson McKee, which is exactly what Strike needs right now. So they are separated by one. But again, it's all about the all-important upwind break, because Red still has it.
Yep. If Strike gets the D here and has possession going upwind, are we going to see coaches call a timeout to put an O-line on? Are we going to see a different kind of strategy? Like, this possession will be so important if we get to that point. Indy, of course, is going to want to punch in a quick and easy hold, maybe taking as much time off the clock as they can, so not so quick. But we've got our O-line, and maybe a side stack ISO play here.
You can see the mark forcing Tilo to throw.
Backhand hook this time.
I'll say backhand instead. Two defenders there, and that's some of the better defense that Strike has had in terms of getting that group defense. We've seen a lot of one-on-ones so far this game.
Yeah, Hendrickson peeling off to help with that D, and Monshine, two of them taking care of business. So here we are. We have Strike on their own end zone line trying to push it upwind, and that throw just gets destroyed by the wind. We got Tilo picking it up. Oh my goodness.
And the wind must be absolutely gusting, because
these are the best throwers in the league. So this wind is nuts.
And you're seeing the wind just destroying that. There's a Callahan! Makeda Matamore absolutely losing her mind. Just takes opportunity, reads that, and comes down with the first Callahan of the game.
All right. Wow. That is huge for Matamore. Huge for the energy of the Red. That is a huge goal. I'm out of words to say. Looks like she gets the block and then gets the layout catch. Amazing.
And again, you saw the wind almost bending the disc. The players were trying to keep the nose down, but just any exposure, and it gets absolutely flipped. Left-handed stretching grab by Matamore there to bring that one in. What an incredible... I think we found our new play of the game.
Yeah, I think that one might have to take over, Kelsey. That was pretty incredible.
You can see Coach Maggie Peck there really trying to hype up the offensive line. They know this is a big one, and more time is not on their side. They really need to take care of business and get their defensive line out there, because right now the defense is the only way they get back in this game. Are we going to see another overtime?
You know, one can only hope. One can only hope. This is one of the first pulls that Red has given Strike, not on the sideline. So we'll see how they start off right in the center of the field here.
Not on the sideline and a little short of that 50-yard line. Yep. So good field position, but that same defensive look that has been a tough one for Strike to fight through.
And again, laser there right in the front, that sort of rabbit position of the zone. Working with Montenegro. Nice pop up to Peasley from Strike handlers. Looking back for the reset though.
I would love to see more of these upfield chiseling cuts just to not lose so much yardage on all of these resets.
Johnson over to Daly.
And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more because what it does is it allows the defensive front end line to stay in front of the disc.
Johnson McKee with a couple of reset options. Lots of separation here from the downfield cutters. We've got Johnson with another scoober over the top 2 buyers.
No fear from Johnson.
Daly looking to Wood, about 7 yards out of the end zone. Offhand, backhand there to Peasley from Wood for the downfield score.
That might be the first short distance high release we have seen work so far in this game.
That is a good score there from Strike.
So Strike clean hold exactly when they needed it. Indy again still with that key advantage, and they're going downwind. It's an invisible 2-point lead is what it is, with the wind as your 8th defender.
Yeah, if you're Red, you're probably not feeling like super easy with this difference, right? Knowing that if the Strike are able to put in an upwind break, then this is a whole new game. Again, time is running out, but Indy is only up by 1. All right, and we've got the Minnesota D-line on the field ready to get going. Millie Wright with the pull again has been really strong in that position this game. This is her first year on Strike, coming down from Winnipeg, Canada. Right in the middle of the sea of Concordia St. Paul on the field. And Garenser over to pick up. Again, Strike defense trying to cut off this first Huck throw. Will it be successful? No, it will not, because that Huck is going up anyway. Wright is there and gets the block. Great defense from Wright.
That was a laser from Garenser. Again, Indy committed to this field position, and why not when the wind has been so difficult to conquer?
This is what Indy has been doing so well this entire game, is if they're going to turn it over, they're going to make Strike then have to work the entire field upwind, and Strike has not been able to do that.
I like that Raisin Johnson is on the field right now, though. That's a piece that this defensive line has not had. Lee, fearless throwing into the teeth of the wind.
Matamore hunting for that second Callahan.
Cook is deep in territory, and you can see Raisin Johnson saying, come to me, let's not try and stretch these throws, knowing how difficult it is. That's a big one. Can they keep the momentum?
Wondering if Strike coaches are going to think about calling a timeout here. Doesn't look like it yet.
Not with Johnson in the field, I don't think.
Cook finds Monshine. This is some good movement here. Can they keep it up? Cook again.
Lockdown, reset defense, taking Monshine away as an option.
Oh my gosh, Matamore gets the hand on it, but Wright is able to hold on, and then reset right to the middle of the field. Johnson over to Lee.
That's got to be so tempting for Lee Frankie, but the defense just running through.
That is Shirley Saunders again. Defensive machine in this game. That's a heartbreaker. I think Saunders was perfectly safe with that play, but Serenity just did not see her coming from the back shoulder. Good leading throw from Lee to get to Serenity, but there's a defender there.
And to me, a little bit casual, because that's not the first time that Red has done this. And here,
Lowe looking for Mass with the huge grab downfield.
That's a big connection, and just like that, we've seen so many of these turns in these small field spaces. Strike really trying to get some momentum and get going downfield.
Wright and Monshine playing catch in the backfield. I mean, they know, we said this a million times, they need this point. This is so important, and that's just going to hit the ground too. We see Monshine with some frustration.
Monshine may be overcompensating for that previous throw she had on the end zone line, where the wind just took it up, really tried to get that nose down, but the wind instead stuffing it into the dirt.
Yep. We've got Tilo here with the disc. Really no resets, but finds Garenser.
Scoober that time.
Scoober without really any mark. Looking for Saunders. Saunders is able to catch it in the end zone. That's some delayed bookends, I would say. Garenser to Saunders, and that is a heartbreaker for Strike fans.
One of the things that we also just lost with that point, clock. The clock is running down. We're now at 4 minutes. These points are taking longer and longer. It's been a relatively high-scoring game considering the circumstances. And I would have loved to see Serenity attacking the disc. Strike needed to keep possession, but the touch from Garanser on this throw, this was gorgeously executed.
Great play from Shirley Saunders, having herself a game with 3 blocks and 1 goal against 0 turnovers.
And Red just playing with house money there. The looseness to throw the scoober to Garanser and then Garanser to just let it fly. But these are crisp throws. These are on the money. And again, the confidence just coming out and being shown on the scoreboard.
So if you're Strike again, you're going to want to have a quick, easy hold here and then try again to get that upwind point. But they're running out of time.
Another point, I loved the crossover of Johnson. And quite frankly, if I'm Strike, I'm crossing over even more. It might already be too late. But it's do or die. They really have to get it done. This is, I think, less about conserving legs and more about having the personnel to break upwind.
Yep, and we've got Johnson back on the field with Daly and Johnson McKee. Haven't seen Beeman Weber out on these O-line points the past couple, I don't think. Hopefully they're doing all right. Wanting to see Strike pick up the pace a little bit here. Of course, scoring is important, but also time is not on their side. We've got Kishner here looking for a continue, finding a reset to Johnson. Huge fakes and not really finding anything downfield. There's a huge amount of space here right after the first 3 players, and Johnson is just gonna huck it. Got 2 targets downfield and huge block from Biquette.
Wood was there. Biquette, though, owning that space. It's better field position. And there's
Drop
a
from
gift
Mylink
from
on
Indy.
the Indy side.
Big gift from Indy, and now Strike with more momentum than they have had so far this point.
Johnson McKee with an around to Reagan. That is a Strike hold.
And you can hear the energy from the crowd, the shouts of excitement, both for, I think, for Regan to get on the board score-wise, but also, again, this knowledge, clock winding down, that was a full minute off. Indy still in a very comfortable space. If they don't flinch, this game is theirs. You gotta ask, what does it look like? What does Strike have to do to make a difference in this game when the objective of how to win is so clear?
This is a strategy, like we've said before, we've been seeing from Indy use a lot. Johnson just hucks it, even though maybe the downfield cutters aren't as open as they could be. But then that gives Strike a lot more defensive space to work with, and they get the disc back relatively quickly.
Yeah, again, just so much easier to attack that corner when the defense was not as compact and wasn't as in front of the disc. And look here, another factor to consider. You can see the crowd has moved off of the stands over, is huddling in the sunshine. So while it was warm on the field an hour and a half ago when warm-ups were taking place, I do think temperatures are dropping. This is classic Minnesota. And dropping temperatures does mean cold hands, tightening muscles, and that might also come into play a little bit.
Tilo with another scoober to Garanser. Tilo is now taking off downfield, so really no resets from Garanser. That is a lot of contact there. Byers running through on the catch from Matamore. Matamore hangs on to it.
Interesting. Red really stretching out the field. We're seeing person defense for the first time in a while. And Indy
the huck
just,
for Matamore.
That
one's too far.
I think anticipating that deep look, that's the first one we've seen Matamore take. But again, I think Indy just knew the game plan. Get the disc downfield, get their players downfield, make a play.
And looking at the personnel we have here for the upwind try for Strike, Monshine, Lee, Wright, gonna be in the backfield. We've got Byers as well. That's a huge downfield presence. Can they make it happen? Red falls right into a zone on this upwind possession for Strike, which makes sense. We got Byers on the far sideline. Back to Lee.
And really going the wrong direction for Byers. If going deep, Byers likes her backhand.
Oh, huge block from Matamore. Layout D in the cup. What else can I say?
Minute 30 on the clock. Seconds are tipping away. Opportunities are slipping away. And if Indy can punch this one in, it feels like it'll be it.
Matamore to Loughran for the goal. Looks like maybe Matamore got stomped on a little bit, or sorry, masked.
Indy just taking care of business, and you could see it in the body language, the confidence, the ease. They really feel like they have this game, and quite frankly, we feel it up here in the booth too, knowing how long it has taken to execute on that downwind, the care that you have to take with the disc, and right now, Indy up 2.
Yeah, and Loughran, frankly, just kind of catching the defender on her heels.
And Mast with the offhand throw there, executing on the left-handed throw. That's huge. And I love this. Indy isn't even going to load up this line. Just confidence, rolling their lines, taking care of business. Again, we're seeing the athleticism. We're seeing the level of talent and execution. I think just a shame that Indy wasn't able to put it together a little earlier in the season, but such a bright future for this Indy Red team.
Absolutely, and if this game, the score stands how it is, I think Indy should feel really good about this stand in a really windy game against a pretty formidable opponent.
I mean, this is one for the algorithms because it's going to come down to, you know, in the head-to-head-to-head, it's probably going to come down to point differential, in which case Strite might have the advantage there. Big ripping throw here going deep. Beckett chasing it down, but does Wood get it?
Wow, amazing grab from Wood. Huge goal from the strike.
Okay, folks, game's not over yet because that was a less than 30-second point. Talk about execution. That almost looks like a game plan for Wood to stay with the disc. Beckett has owned the skies in that deep space. Wood, however, gets it, and Byers trusted Wood, committed to the end zone, and was there, no defense in sight. That was wild.
And this is a great play to watch if you are a player looking to sort of capitalize when you have a matchup that's a lot taller than you, right? I mean, Beckett has height on most players on the field. Wood tracks it the whole way and is able to sort of body out just enough to be able to chase it down after the disc goes over their heads.
I love that choice by Daly to just commit, take the chance, because if they're dinking and donking, there's no way they get it done in time. Now they've got a minute. All they need is possession. With one possession, they could tie the game.
I love that first fake that Wood does to just move the mark, and Beckett kind of bites on it, and then wide open downfield throw for the assist.
So again, this is crucial. Right now, Indy could just burn clock, but it'll be so tempting for them to play field position. T-Low and Garenser.
This is how they have broken that kind of, not double team, but getting the off defender, hitting that Scuba to Garenser, who's wide open every time. It's worked 3 times in a row. Mass with the disc now. Oh, looks like maybe someone got hit in the face. We got a foul here.
Yeah, definitely some contact there. And you see the body language, the apologies. Foul, no contest. But look how who Indy is turning to in this all-important situation. 36 seconds left on the clock. Mast, Garenser, playing one-on-one small ball space.
Garenser pointing downfield.
Shake and bake by T-Low.
And these are just open side undercuts. And there's Matamore, 2 reigns for the point. Indy goes up 2 once again. And that might just be it, Kelsey.
That really feels like game. Man, Indy earning every last bit of it. That was just textbook. Again, you see the excellence. T-Low busting wide open. Matamore flowing downfield. Open side, open side, open side. Indy getting it done.
And as easy as that sort of open side short field forehand from Matamore looks, it's not that easy in this wind. It really has to be well weighted and easy for your defender or for your cutter to run onto, and it was perfect.
And for those at home, this is not a steady state wind. This is a gusting, punchy, inconsistent wind that has to be a pain to throw in.
Indeed.
So that we have this score, this 16-14 score, I think speaks to the quality of the throwers on the field right now for both teams.
Got 21 seconds on the clock. Again, slight rule change in the PUL for this year is that fourth quarter ends the same way as the other 3 quarters. There's no buzzer beater. So again, we'll see the last possession when the clock expires will be the last possession of the game. See if Strike is going to try to push it here.
I am actually shocked that they made that backfield throw because this big throw needs to go.
Johnson boosting it into double coverage. Both Biquette and Wong getting their hands on it there. So now Red just needs to hold on to it for 5 more seconds.
And that first throw out of the end zone, that was the big one for Red. Now they're going to play it through, but Anake Regan shuts it down. That will end the game.
Whew. Take a deep breath now.
You and me both.
Indy wins 16-14, a game where it felt like Strike were within striking distance of potentially getting that upwind break in the second half and turning it around. Just could not make it happen. Indy, to their credit, holding on to that disparity the entire game almost, having started in the downwind direction. This is going to feel huge for Indy pulling off this win away against a good opponent in the wind. After a difficult start, this is a big win for them.
Yeah, just so much. This will be a game that I want to personally watch back. You know, it's one thing to be up here in the booth where we're, you know, reacting to everything in real time, but there was so much, I think, to unpack in this game. Both teams playing with very specific strategies, and we saw Indies have that early advantage, and that is an advantage that they rode to the finish here.
All right, and we have a few of our sponsors to shout out here, starting with Discraft. The Discraft Ultrastar is the official disc of the Premier Ultimate League. Discraft, the world leader in disc sports.
Next, Breakmark Ultimate Apparel is the exclusive official uniform sponsor of the Minnesota Strike and the entire Premier Ultimate League. Get your official Strike jerseys, hats, and more at teams.breakmark.com/group/PUL.
And this live broadcast is brought to you by the Premier Ultimate League. The PUL is a 501c6 nonprofit. The league has been community funded since day one, and we are so grateful for the support. We ask that you consider donating to help us continue to transform and fulfill our mission. Head to premierultimateleague.com to donate today. And we've got Laura Osterlund on the sideline here with one of the stars of this game, Makeda Matamore, who had 3 goals, 4 assists, 2 blocks for the Indy Red. Laura, down to you.
All right, I'm here with Makeda Matamore. Good game. At Callahan especially.
Oh yeah, that's
super
fun.
sick. With the win especially, what do you think helped you with this win?
I think we went back to our Red traditions of just running a lot of zone. Like you saw our O-line, I think we won the flip, we got the downwind from the bat, and we just kept it down there in that end zone and yeah, worked our zone how we do it best.
So you had a little bit of a flat first couple games. What's this win mean to you?
Oh, it was everything. Yeah, this was like championship weekend on the line, so we knew that we had to get this one, and we made a lot of adjustments and just a lot of conscious effort to get this win, and we earned it. But
going into the latter half of the season, what adjustments are you going to make?
No spoilers, but probably some more zone. I think that we have a really deep D-line that can run multiple defensive looks, which is really nice, so we can kind of specialize with who's good at what, and then just letting our O-line outwork that competition.
And do you have any shout-outs you want to give?
Oh my gosh, I mean, all my teammates are goated. Shout out the coaching staff, Jackie Lai especially, like she puts her heart and soul into this team. And it really shows, like she is thinking about this team when she wakes up and when she goes to bed at night. So, and yeah, my teammates make me look good. Like they're amazing. So,
anything else you want to share?
Go Red, and yeah, keep an eye on us. We're so back. We are so back.
All right, heard it here first. Back to you in the booth.
Awesome to hear from McKenna Matamore, one of the stars of the game, giving flowers to her teammates for making her look good. I would argue that a layout Callahan is one of the only plays that you can get where you are making yourself look good. So humble, it's good to see it, but really fantastic play for Matamore in this game. She also noted that, the team just did a good job of keeping the disc in that far downwind end zone, which is exactly what we saw, Kelsey.
I think this is definitely a good example of a game where very specific strategic goals in place of know what's dangerous, know what's acceptable, and play with confidence, allowing those risks that you have deemed important and do that cohesively as a team. It really felt like Red knew their strategy as a team, executed on that. And again, you saw the confidence of the players just increase down the stretch into the fourth quarter.
Lots of wonderful guests here at Seafoam Stadium for our game today. If you enjoyed today's stream, please continue donating by scanning the QR code on your screen or at strikeultimate.com. Minnesota Strike is a nonprofit organization, and all donations go towards player pay, travel costs, and bringing you high-quality live streams like the one today. Thank you so much for supporting the Strike and the Indy Red and all the other wonderful teams in the PUL.
Well, if you are still with us on this broadcast, I suggest you stick around for this highlight package because, man, this was an action-packed game. So many good plays. Saw that D there from Matamore, but just, again, the defensive intensity from both teams, the heads-up plays, that catch there by Daly was a big one in the first half.
And the hurdle defense over from Mass 2 to avoid contact. Can't forget that.
Just play after play by both teams. I loved that Strike felt like it was in it until the end, but again, the resurgence of Indy Red in this game, playing like we know they can play, playing up to their potential, playing their game, really not letting Strike dictate their play at all.
In the words of McKenna Matamore, they're so back. And I believe it. I believe it. This has been a fun kind of opportunity to see these two interdivision rivals take each other on. There are going to be a lot of implications for this game, and also the I think 4 other games happening today throughout the league on standings. We've got Monarchs playing on the East Coast probably right now. Not sure what the results are there. We've also got an exciting game between Atlanta Soul and DC Shadow in the South Division. The top 2 teams, both undefeated in that division, taking each other on tonight. So tune into that to see some of the other teams in action today as well.
And where this leaves us, Milwaukee has a win, Minnesota has a win, Indy has a win. I do think it will come down to point differential, and it makes the race to playoffs so much more interesting.
Well, thank you again so much for joining us on this afternoon, wherever you are calling from. It has been great to have you. We wish you a wonderful evening full of plays like this one. For Kelsey Percy, I'm Rebecca Klein. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you next time. Bye.